Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
We would like to thank our friends at Premium Bar Products for sponsoring this episode. If you're ready to step up your game at your home bar, check out PremiumBarProducts.com to choose from their wide selection of glassware, all of which can be custom engraved with your personal message or logo. And there's no minimum order. So after the episode, head over to PremiumBarProducts.com and check out everything they have to offer. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hey listeners, this is Big Chief from the Bourbon Road. We are here today with Legends Bourbon Spirits USA out of Cumming, Georgia, up there by Atlanta, just I guess northwest of Atlanta a little bit. We got Chris Green, the Chief Marketing Officer, and Tyler Sanderlin, he wanted to be called the head blender, but I'm going to tell all of our listeners right now, they got some spectacular bourbon that we reviewed. Their 115 Wheated Bourbon. If you haven't tried it and you can get a bottle, you better get your hands on a bottle. So to me, that right there wins you Master Blender. Because if you did that, was that your magic?
That was my magic.
Well, guys, welcome to the Bourbon Road tonight. We're going to discuss... we're going to be drinking two of your bourbons and discussing Legends and how it came about and how it's going to grow and how everybody wants to get your whiskey in their hands. So, we like to get straight to the whiskey, though. So the first whiskey we're going to drink tonight is your Legends 87 bourbon. Do you guys want to lead me through that?
Yeah, sure. So our 87 bourbon is what Chris, our marketing guy, dubbed a session bourbon. So it's a really easy drinking bourbon that's meant to just be simply enjoyed. It's great with a Coke or an old fashioned or something like that. But when I think about it, I think about sitting around a campfire with your friends and you just get into it and it starts opening up more and more. And before you know it, the bottle's just about gone and you might be in trouble with your wife the next morning. But it's a good bourbon. It's sweet on the sweeter side, incredibly smooth, and just a simple, easy drinking bourbon that we've had a lot of success with. If you're into higher proofs, I'll be honest, this might not be your jam because it is a very light, smooth bourbon. I know smooth is one of those taboo words, but that's what comes to mind when people drink the 87.
I get some fresh pizzas on this.
Yeah, it's definitely got the floral and the fruit in it.
Now, as soon as you said floral, I'm going to throw out my old country boy honeysuckle on that. You walking down that country road a little bit, that honeysuckle. But still, I still get that fresh peaches, not peach pie, but like you cut open a fresh peach or your mom's canned some peach out of that old mason jar. I might even pour some of this on top of some peaches and drink it.
Yeah, my wife uses 87 for recipes. Every time I bring a bottle home, I never get to drink it because she's already started blending it with brownies and making ice cream out of it. I'm like, come on. But the sweetness in the bourbon, the honeysuckle, the vanilla, it blends so well as an easy drinker, but as a recipe, you can pour it on just about damn near anything, and it's just beautiful. It just it accents it.
Now, Tyler, was that your mind behind that your thought process behind when you blended this?
Yeah, it was just, kind of, this is our standard bourbon. It's our entry-level bourbon, just to make it a really just approachable and an easy drinker, a little lighter on the fruit side. So people who are coming into bourbon, this isn't going to abuse them. It's not going to tear the palate up. It's not going to be a flamethrower or something like that. So that was kind of our process behind this, just making a really just high 80s, it's at 87 proof and just making it a really approachable, solid bourbon that can be used. It's priced where you don't feel guilty if you put it in a cocktail, and it's good enough to be drank neat. It kind of covers the spectrum.
And what's the price on this bottle?
Right now, we just actually lowered it down to $29.99. We were about $33, $34. And then we decided we had a lot of push behind it and we were getting a lot of interest and the sales were going well. But the number one thing we heard was it needs to be close to about $30. And so we made the decision $29.99 is where it needs to be. And that's where it's at the market right now.
So that's super respectable out of a craft distillery. And are you guys producing this yourselves, or is this sourced?
This is MGP sourced. We proudly tell everybody where it comes from. We even put it on the bottle. It's one of the big taboos that distilleries, a lot of distilleries are being known for, which is they're hiding where their juice is being distilled. We literally put it on the side of the bottle. It says distilled in Indiana. And if anybody in the industry knows anything about Indiana, that is where MGP juice comes from. And they are one of the best master distillers out there. And we want the best juice that we can get a hold of to quantum purify it with our technology.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with sourcing. A lot of companies out there are doing that. And I'm glad you guys are transparent about that. Now, what's the mash bill on this?
It's 21% rye, 75% corn, 4% barley malt. It's considered a high rye. Anything above, 18, 19% is considered high rye. But then we do it in small batches and then proof it down to 87. So which is why it's a super easy drinking bourbon. It doesn't have that bite, but it has all the sweetness. So a little bit of that caramel finish on the back, vanilla almost, a little honey. I dubbed it the session bourbon because 90% of our customers that buy this 87, the bottle doesn't last. They pop the cork, they throw it in the trash, and they just kill the bottle. It is so easy to drink.
Well, guys, I say cheers to you. Thank you so much for sharing your whiskey with me. I'm going to go ahead and taste some of this.
All right.
Cheers. Very sweet on that front end. Last night we were at dinner and my wife was eating a dessert and she said this has got a light spice on it. And I get a little hint of ginger on this. Just a tad bit. The ginger can have a real light spice to it. I'd usually say white pepper, but after she said that, I was like, man, that's spot on some bourbon I drink. So I still get those fresh peaches though. I love it. It's nice and light. I feel just a tad of a little Kentucky hug, but not a giant Kentucky hug.
No, this is a little bit of a warmth, but it's not until you get to the 100 and especially the 115 is where you get that true Kentucky hug.
Oh, that second sip of that is like just coating my mouth. For 87 proofer, that's all like drinking that peach syrup a little bit. That's how it's that sweet and that viscous for 87 proof. I'm so surprised that it's that viscous and oily.
I mean, if you just swirl the bourbon around the glass, the legs that are on this would be in an 87. It's impressive. Mm-hmm. It really does hug the inside of the glass.
And how can you beat that with the price?
And we don't chill filter it. So that's one reason why you got, because it's at 87 proof, it's below the flock point. So a lot of people chill filter at that point, but being where we are and just our capacity, we decided, and we just didn't want to strip it and make it a real thin whiskey. We wanted to keep oil. Yeah. So that was just a decision we made, is like, let's keep the whiskey as natural and as too close to what it should be as possible.
So let's get into the story of Legends. How did Legends start?
Well, that's a long one, but I'll make it short. So we're owned by Spirits USA, right? That's the parent company, the LLC, and it's been around since 2007. It's had a few brands, and Legends launched. We launched Legends in March of 2020 when we went public. So just in time to not do anything is really what happened, because as a 3-tier state, Georgia, we have to legally use a distributor to go to restaurants or package stores. And with March, with everything shutting down all around the world, our distributor said, listen, we just can't launch a new product. So we sat there for probably 2.5 months with our stuff wrapped, ready to go, sitting on the loading dock. So it's been a fun 1.5 years for sure, getting out of that situation. But Legends started really, for me, the way I get into it, my stepfather's Kenny May, and he actually started Conecuh Ridge whiskey, the Clyde May whiskey in Alabama back in the late 90s. And sold out his shares out of it probably by the early 2000s. And he wanted to stay in the bourbon business and wanted to stay in the whiskey business. So he was kind of shopping around, and he wound up meeting Michael Gerard, who is the CEO of the company now in Cumming, Georgia. and they wanted to put together a partnership. Kind of had this idea of some new ways to sort of finish whiskey. So an idea of blending the traditional ways, like we're aged in barrels. We don't take it out of the barrel and try to do any kind of finagling like that. And then, but finishing it with some newer technologies that we're exploring. And one of my stepfather's good friends back home is a food mechanical genius. He's got about 40 something patents in the food development industry. They put their heads together, and that's what kind of come with quantum purity. So quantum purity is sort of the nexus of what Spirits USA is. And from there, we are legends, and we use that quantum purity by Spirits USA to finish it. So for us, again, we're not distilling on site as much as other people and all this stuff. So for us, really, it's the process. We can get juice from any good distiller and make it ours through the process that we use to finish it.
So you have that bourbon background with your stepdad, which is a well-known bourbon out there with that Clyde Mays name, right?
Right.
Some people say it has apple peels in it, but still a well-known Alabama-style whiskey. But you brought that over. Take me through that quantum process of really what that does without giving away your trade secrets.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a patent process that we own. And what it is, so for instance, our bourbon, right? Our bourbon will go into a charred new oak barrel, just as regulations require, as we would do, and it'll sit there and age, right? So our bourbons are, aged.
Traditionally aged.
Traditionally aged from 2 to 4 years. So they sit there just like any other bourbon in the world, right? We're not cheating that process. You can't legally, and we wouldn't if we could. So we take it out of the barrel, and then depending on if it's the 115 or the 100, we'll add the water and blend it, and then into the process it goes. And quantum purity is just a mechanical, non-chemical operation that removes mostly methanol from the bourbon without stripping flavor or color or mouthfeel. So, when you got your runs, you're running your still, you get the 4 shots, which we know is the stuff that makes people go blind and sick and all that. It's mostly methanol. But then you get your hearts, which is ethanol, but there's still methanol in it. There's legal limits, right? So if you're running a clean still, you're still getting some of that methanol in there. We're able to take that an additional down to about 50%. So we're able to remove what's left by about 50%. And what it does is it just makes a really smooth bourbon that brings the flavors forward and tamps down a lot of that sort of burn, the ethanol, like back of your throat on fire kind of stuff. So we're able to just basically, I kind of like, you got white noise, and we're able to just tamp that down and let the flavor shine through. And that's without using traditional filters, without using any kind of chemical process, and without really stripping color or flavor.
A lot of people out there might ask, hey, isn't that cheating and nobody else doing that? I'll tell you, I've been in, I don't know how many distilleries, I can't count them. And folks, unless they're pouring it straight in the bottle from the barrel, let's say Michter's, they've got a monstrous filtration system before it ever gets in the bottle. So don't think that those giant distilleries aren't putting your whiskey through some type of a filter.
Absolutely.
So this new process, if you're taking somewhat lemon terms, you're taking the headache out of the bottle.
Yeah. That's the goal. Yeah. That's one of the things we're doing. So we're just making a cleaner process without having to really redistill. And it really shows up in our vodka as well. We've got an incredible vodka that is as good as I'd put it up there with any vodka we call it the Legends Challenge. And it really shines. It's a little easier to tell in the vodka because it's such a clean, our vodka, there's hardly no nose and there's really hardly any taste. It's just a straight up vodka.
We don't say that dirty word on our podcast.
I know.
I'm just messing with you. We do. In Mexico, that's what I drink is vodka.
Hey, there's sometimes
sometimes it's too damn hot to drink bourbon, so you got to have a mixer drink. But so your bourbon and your vodka and your stuff, all of it goes through that process, and it really, in layman terms, it's taking that headache, it's taking that hangover out of it. It'd be even better for me because I don't get hangovers. I never have. I don't know why. I've had a couple rough days in my life. I could probably count on my hand where I woke up and I was like, God almighty, I regret last night. But I haven't had one of those in a long time. A real long time.
Yeah, and legally we can't say you don't get a hangover. We just say you can take back the morning.
Well, that's a beautiful.
And here's the thing: the whole no hangover thing. That's an after effect of something that we were designing. We had no intention of that ever happening, right? The whole idea of the technology was to allow the flavor to come forward and take all that, as Tyler says, white noise. It's the methanol, butanol, ethyl acetate is the main things that we take out. And by doing so, by removing all that high heat, now what it's allowing is a young bourbon. So we're talking young bourbons here. We're not going to tell customers we got a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old bourbon. We're working with 2 to 4. So when most young bourbons have that high heat because the methanol hasn't had time to actually disperse naturally. There's a reason why a 15-year-old bourbon is smooth, that dreaded word that everybody hates. But it's because over time, it's settled down. That methanol, that butanol's actually dispersed out of the barrel. Believe it or not, there is actually gases that release out of the barrel. So we're taking a young bourbon and we're able to polish it and just allow that young flavor to come through, which is full of flavor when you remove that high heat. To go back on what you were just saying about every distillery has a gigantic filtration system, 100% true. And what they also have, not all of them, but there's quite a few of them, they all have gimmicks. They all, especially in the vodka world, where it's all passed over diamonds or through the butthole of a unicorn. There's some stupid gimmick out there that they use to say they filtered the product. Well, what we have is scientific facts. We don't have a gimmick. We actually back up what we created by sending it to a lab, and and it's on our website. We'll put it against Bullet, Maker's Mark, and Woodford Reserve, and we actually show the results of the impurities that we remove, and it is shocking, absolutely shocking what is left over as far as the methanol and the butanol side of it. It's amazing, and as you can tell from my accent, I am not from America. I'm English, right? Only in America would they approve methanol at high levels to consume. Nowhere else in the world would they allow it what they do here. But
I thought you were going to say only in America would they allow bourbon to come out of unicorn's butthole. That's what I thought he was about to say. I just knew, Tyler, that's what he's going to say.
No. But it's just the whole thing. If it's good enough to power a NASCAR, then it must be good enough to drink, right?
Yeah,
and that's the whole, that's the whole thing. So we figured out a way with our technology to really tone down that methanol, that butanol, that ethyl acetate, and all that's left now is this beautiful, clean, pure bourbon and vodka that you get to enjoy the flavor without any of that burn.
Well, let's talk about you two guys for a second. Now, Tyler, you kind of hinted that you've got that background from your stepdad in Clyde Mays, right? Is that where you got your background and you learned your art of blending?
Yeah. I was exposed to whiskey at a young age. Let's just say that. Yeah. Legally, or maybe not, but yeah. So it's just been around my life for quite a long time. 20 plus years. So, unfortunately, my stepfather's not with us anymore. He passed in 2016. And that's kind of where I really entered the story, is I wanted to sort of do my part to bring it home for our family, for our interest in this venture. I wanted to kind of see it home. So I was actually living in New Orleans for the last several years. So I would drive up to my parents' home in Troy, Alabama, spend the night, and then come up to Cumming, Georgia on Saturday mornings, and we'd work on our process, work on our batches and all that. And then I'd burn it back to New Orleans Sunday and be back in work on Monday morning.
Well, that's tough right there.
Did that for about 4 years.
Now, when you start blending something, how many barrels are you putting into this batch right here of like 87? How many barrels are you guys putting into something like this?
When we small batch the 87, it's 10 barrels.
So 10 barrels at a time. You probably cherry picking some barrels.
Yeah, I mean, there's
a little bit here, a little bit there.
The longer we've been at it, and me being on site has helped out a lot. Me being in the in the place 40 hours a week plus instead of driving up for the weekends has helped us get more consistent for sure. But yeah, there's a flavor profile we're going for. We'll blend through it. And like we say, I know small batch is one of those words that can mean anything, but for us, small batches is 10 barrels. So we are truly I think that's pretty small for a small batch. So there is going to be a little bit of swing because 10 barrels, it's hard to be consistent with 10 barrels completely on point, with, and I don't have racks and racks of barrels to cherry pick from, we do have limited quality because we're a startup. So, but
Now, go ahead.
But yeah, we just go through 10 barrels and then we add our water to make it 87 proof and blend it over several days.
Now, Chris, like you said, you got that accent. Heck, I can't say nothing because I got an accent too. So everybody, I used to live up Maine. I was walking through the grocery store and this lady's like, "You talk funny," and I was like, "You think I talk funny? Imagine what I'm thinking." Everybody here talks funny. So you could say the same thing to people down there. But give me your background, Chris. What's your background?
So my background, actually, I've been in marketing and design for most of my life right out of high school. I got into graphic design at a young age. I was a professional musician for a while. And while I was on the road, I was doing graphic design to pay the bills because music does not pay the bills. And then I got my degree in a Bachelor of Arts and Marketing, and I actually worked for the PGA. So I was in the golf industry for actually 15 years doing the FedEx Cup and the Nationwide Tour. I was doing a lot of the marketing for that. I also did a lot of marketing in the marathon industry, designs for the Boston Marathon, New York, the Atlanta Peach Race, and then Spartan was one of my biggest clients that I worked for, Spartan Races. So my background is mostly design. About 6 years ago, I met Michael at one of his pubs. I also run soccer clubs here in Atlanta, and I was at his pub and he started teasing me about Legends, about this new process he's got, this technology he's got, the people he's working with. And he said he's in dire need of marketing. And so I just told him, I was like, "Man, when you're ready to pull the trigger on this, I've done the same thing now for going on 15 years. I've being English, I've done my fair share of drinking. It's about time it started making me money. So I'd like to be a part of this." And he called me 2.5 years ago and said, "We're ready. Come on board. Let's get going." So I hung up my PGA background. I said, enough of that. I don't want the corporate world anymore. And we became an owner. Myself and Tyler are both owners into Legends Distillery also. And we just hit the ground running. I redesigned all the labels. I didn't like what we had. Tyler can vouch for that. What we had originally, they were not good. And we just started out really just redesigning everything that Legends was and trying to build a brand around the word Legends, which is amazing that we were able to trademark that. I couldn't believe that it wasn't taken by somebody.
I like your bottle, but first I was thinking, you just talked about that unicorn. Did you have a little unicorn that you showed him and like, "Man, I'm going to show you why you need to hire me. I got this little unicorn and he's magical"? No, I've been thinking about that for a second now. But in your label, I could tell that this is your label, because I hate to tell you, but there is no American guy out there, no American man or marketer is going to put neat on the rocks, share with a mate.
Share with a mate. So actually, that isn't me. That is Michael. Our CEO is from Sydney, Australia. So we as Legends, as Spirits USA, we got this melting pot of Australian, English, Irish, South African, good old Troy, Alabama, and Connecticut. And so we got this really cool, just melting pot of nationalities and expats. Michael was insistent, because of where he's from, being from Australia, that we put mates on the bottle. I didn't mind being English. It didn't bother me. I think it's kind of cool if you actually look at the bottle where it says that we're 100% American owned, because we're all American citizens. But then it also says some with accents. And there's a reason for that, obviously, because we all, when you come visit Legends Distillery, there's only one American accent there pretty much all the time, and that is Tyler. So,
now, Tyler, what's your take on that?
Well, I can tell you, I'm a football guy. I grew up playing and watching football my whole life. I'm from Alabama, obviously.
So you like Auburn?
I actually went to Auburn. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I used to work for Auburn. But these guys get to talk about soccer, and I just tell them, I say, I know you're speaking English, but I do not know what you're saying.
Hey, I'm there with you. We have a big soccer guy in our office, and we have this debate all the time. And today he wanted to watch soccer, and I said, "Here's the thing." I was like, "And Chris, you're just gonna have to bear with me for a second."
Sure.
I said, "If we didn't have baseball, if we didn't have college sports, if we didn't have basketball, all the sports that America has, I was like, we would dominate the world in soccer. There's no doubt in my mind. But we got this little thing called football that takes up a bunch of athletes." That's Mike Hyatt's take on it. Big Chiefs, you listeners out there, you can get mad at me saying that, but that's just how I feel. I live over here in Shelbyville, Kentucky. That's where I live at.
And there's something, and this to our jobs. Like Chris is the marketing guy, and I'm the blender guy and all that. But those are loose titles. We're a 5-man operation, and 2 guys are on the road as salesmen. So just the last 2 weeks, we've been carpenters. We built our own bar for our tasting room, and I'm an excellent floor sweeper in the warehouse.
Yep.
And Chris is great at breaking stuff. So, we all.
Well, that's what it takes, right? It's a team effort, team concept. Most craft distilleries are like that. They're just helping each other out. They're trying to build the American dream. And I think, to me, that even more American if you got somebody from Austria, somebody from England that came here. They found that American dream and latched onto it and have made something of themselves and show what an immigrant really can do. I mean, does it get any truer than that? You're working, and you got a good old boy from T. Roy, Alabama, with his Auburn education, leading the way with his blending and stuff, with his whiskey background. I mean, that's, to me, that is the American dream. That's what it's all about right there. You're producing America's native spirit there. You put some other stuff out there, but this is what we're here for, is that bourbon whiskey and stuff. And now in the future, this is some great whiskey, but are you guys going to start distilling yourself and laying down your own barrels?
We're working on it. It's really the finances. I mean, it's not what's the old saying? The way you make a small fortune in distilling is start with a large fortune. It's really, last year kicked our butts as far as the financial plans that we had. Because we looked at half a year without really selling anything. So, and then we've been behind the 8 ball since then. We have, it wasn't for bad timing, we'd have no timing at all in this company. It seems like sometimes, but, we're working on it. We're pricing. It's not going to be cheap. The facility we have is not really the best for it. So we've got a lot of hurdles to overcome, and, we've had these conversations with supply chain and, trying to source stuff. And there's a million other people out there trying to buy the same stuff you're doing. So the prices are going up, and just the feasibility of the current where we're at. But it's all in the plans. And it's just really just, building and getting on our, getting on a even footing before we start the next venture for sure. But it's definitely something we're pursuing.
Well, and I agree. The thing is, we started out sourcing barrels. We started out sourcing GNS, and we're turning it into world-class spirits, right? We won 27 awards in our first full calendar year. We became Georgia's most awarded distillery based on sourced barrels, sourced GNS. So if we can, and now by winning, especially the Ascot Award, being the best wheated bourbon, being the top 3, beating out Weller Foolproof, and only losing to 1 vote to Stag Junior. That just put us on the map. So now we're getting all these distilleries from North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, who are all wanting us to come fly out, meet with them to source barrels from them. So we could go down the road of distilling our own bourbon, but if we can go to multiple distilleries and source the best product that you can possibly find and then quantum purify it and enhance it even more, we're going to take advantage of that. We've been begging for barrels. Now we have distilleries literally banging down our door saying, we have barrels for you. This technology is something special. It's put us on the map. It's put Georgia on the map as far as distilleries go. And we've got a lot of interest from some of the big names. I know Mike and we talked about it. I've dropped the name. I won't say it on the podcast, but we had secret shoppers that have come through and they're very interested in the technology. So we're on the map right now. And I feel like what the business plan that we have, it's working and we can only grow that. If we start distilling our own, I think it's going to slow down the progress that we may have already made. So I'm not saying we won't do it in the future, but I think for right now, I think what we've got, the plan that we have is working perfectly.
Yeah, if I can get paid to go crawl over barrel houses across the United States and pick out 10 or 20 barrels here and there, I'll be a pretty happy guy.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the dream job, right? Well, on the second half, we'll talk about that. We'll get into your Legends 100 bourbon. I got some other questions for you about the future of Legends, about your labels, about all kinds of stuff. So listeners, hang with us. We'll be right back with Legends. Don't forget to check out our giveaway. Your last day is tomorrow. You want to check that out. That's with Old Salt Coffee Company. 2 pounds of their coffee, 2 of their coffee cups. And of course, the Bourbon Road is going to throw in some Buffalo Trace bourbon cream to put in that coffee. So check that out. Just all you got to do is go on Instagram, find that post, follow Old Salt Coffee Company, follow the Bourbon Road. That's pretty easy. Tag 3 of your friends. If you really want a second entry into that, all you got to do is join our private Facebook group, The Bourbon Roadies. Leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and it'll get you an extra entry.
Well, you can't drink whiskey without glassware, and Mike and I are extremely pleased to have a sponsor like Premium Bar Products. Premium Bar Products offers direct-to-consumer the finest whiskey glasses, cocktail glasses, and bar tools with your own personal engraving. I mean, you can write anything you want on these glasses, anything from a company logo to a personal statement, and there are no minimum orders. Their direct consumer platform offers you the opportunity to purchase small quantities of your favorite glass shapes that enhance the pleasure of enjoyment and drinking of whiskey and make it all very positive. They offer the absolute finest trending and handmade glasses, as well as a comprehensive range of styles, and all of their items have been designed with purpose, practicality, and longevity in mind. So if you're a bourbon or whiskey group and you need custom logos, you need to reach out to Premium Bar Products. If you're an individual, you just want a few for your bar, to impress your friends, to give out as gifts, you need to call Premium Bar Products. They need to be your one and only source for custom glassware. I can tell you right now, the Bourbon Road, that's who we use. Janie and Carson and the team there at Premium Bar Products will take care of you. They'll treat you like family, and they'll take care of you with every order.
All right, listeners, we are back with Legends Bourbon Spirits USA out of Cumming, Georgia. Now, on the second half, Chris and Tyler, we're going to be drinking your Legends 100 bourbon. So run me through this real fast. Mash bill price. Tell me all about it.
All right. So this is our Legends 100. This is probably actually my favorite to make because what it is just a blend of 2 barrels. So it's a double barrel blend. And I get to go through all of our barrels and pick out which 2 gets blended. So it's a hard day at the work when I go through and pull all my samples for that day. But so it's 100 proof. It's a high rye. You get a little. It's more of a mature bourbon. We call it our flagship bourbon. You're still going to start getting a little bit more of the rye spice in it. less sweetness on the palate. Still some sweet from the corn there for sure, but you start picking up notes like kind of like that, more of that finished leather smell that you can get with some bourbon, or a little bit of tobacco maybe. Definitely some more oak in there, a little bit more oak from the barrel, and it's just a really solid, balanced bourbon. Kind of tastes really traditional. When you think of a good bourbon, it's not going to be crazy tilted one way or the other. It should be really balanced and just delicious, and it's a fun process to make that.
So I'm getting that oak on this. I'm definitely getting some kettle corn or some deep caramel corn like Cracker Jacks. Little bit of nuttiness on it, just a tad bit. I get the little bit of that pipe tobacco on this, just that tad bit.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of like a brown sugar or toasted, or kind of like you say, like kettle corn or Cracker Jack, that caramel kind of flavor.
And I know I'm going to make my listeners happy right here. I get a little bit of Fruit Loop cereal on this. Let me give this sucker a taste.
All right, go at it. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, yeah. That is a bourbon right there. I get a little bit of that nuttiness on it. Definitely, maybe out of that, like Cracker Jacks, how that caramel corn will have some peanuts in it and stuff. I'm getting that right there, that caramel, that little bit of leather, like you said, that warm, maybe a worn like saddle leather. You could smell that in a barn.
I love the spice, that high spice of the rye with the oak. To me is what makes this my favorite.
Now, I'm not getting a whole bunch of spice on this. I do get a little bit of just a tad bit of sweetness, but as it rolls back, it kind of opens up, starts popping. Me and Jim always says pop rocks.
Yep.
You'll put pop rocks in your mouth and it just doesn't go right away, but it takes a second.
I get the spice in the front, but not on the back. The spice is in that immediate sip. That's where I get that, almost like a pepper. It hits me on the palate and then then goes sweet on the back for me.
I don't get that right there. I just get that. It is no just problem. Hit that mid palate, slides back. Less Kentucky hug on this one though, than that first one. And maybe because that was my first bourbon of the day, I'm not positive. This is something a little bit easier. I get this as more traditional, a little bit higher proof at 100 proof.
Yep.
The double barrel is kind of confusing. I think that would be confusing to a lot of people, right? Because you're talking about the marriage of just two barrels. You're not taking bourbon and putting it into a brand new barrel, toasted barrel.
It's not double cast.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out for our listeners. And you do make it clear on there, but it does say double barrel. And I would have thought that means it's been rebarreled. But I don't get that toasted. I don't get that toasted marshmallow on this, but you just took two magic barrels, picked those out and married them together.
Yep.
So every batch, this is a true small batch. Every batch of this is going to be totally different.
Yeah. I mean, I try to keep it within the window of sort of the flavor profile that won at the Sips Award last year. We had what was it, best of class platinum. Yep. And so I try to keep it, but yeah, there's definitely going to be swing because it's only two barrels. So there's definitely going to be a swing. And I've recently did a private blend off of that. So, and it was it's out there. It's not like any other 100 we put in. And I really pulled 10 barrel. I pulled 14 and I knocked it down to 8 barrels and really married two really distinct barrels together. Two almost unicorns, to be honest with you. So that private blend we did was I just let this one be a standalone. It's really kind of outside the box of our normal 100 profile.
Yeah, we did 36 blends of the barrels. What was it, 5 hours? We spent with the customer. It was 8 barrels.
They gave us 2 barrels. They gave us 36 combinations, and we went up with a 2/3 blend of 2 barrels.
It's beautiful.
So, Chris, let me ask you, and you might have said this before, but maybe I didn't catch it. Legends, the name Legends, where did the name Legends come from exactly?
That is from our CEO, Michael. Both myself and him are huge. We call it football. You call it soccer. But we're both into the European Premier League. He was watching a television show about Arsenal, which is his team, right? And there was a player that came on the television that was considered a legend. of arsenal. And he was sitting there, and he's got this quantum purity technology. He's got Spirits USA. He's trying to bring out a new brand. I'm not on board yet, so he's trying to think of this idea for a name by himself. The name Legend just seemed to just click, and so he went on his phone immediately. He was like, "There's no way that can be available as a brand here in the U.S. a Legends brand," and he couldn't believe it. It was actually available. And so he snatched it up immediately, got it trademarked. And the goal is, it still is today, we want to create a legend for every state that we launch in. And so, for instance, every single state in the United States has a legend from that state, right? A staple from that state. So we want to have a Georgia legend. We want to have a Tennessee legend. We want to have a Kentucky legend. It's something that we can brand. It's something we can grow with. We can have a lot of fun with it, and it's such a good name to put on a whiskey. Toast to a local legend, give a gift to a legend. It is so easy to market. It's not even funny. It just writes itself.
So this is the only thing I'll beat you up on, your guys' entire bourbon bottle, which to me, you could put pink roses all over the sucker and with a unicorn with flowers flying out its butt and stuff. And all that would matter is what's inside that bottle is the whiskey, right? To me,
right.
I've said that 100 times over and over. But marketing does work. This is the only thing I'm gonna beat you up on.
Bring it.
I don't know why I can't stand this. it bothers me. But I don't like people when they put their words on labels. It's just something about me. I don't know. I get the neck tags and stuff like that. But you left the Legends, your logo off this bottle right here. It's a beautiful logo. And so you put your SIP awards on there, and I get it. Hey, you're proud of it. You're proud of it. So next thing I want to see is an Ascot award on there.
No. We're not going down that on the one.
I see Tyler. He's trying to hide his smile.
So what it came down to is no craft distillery puts awards on their labels, right? No major distillery puts their awards on the labels. It's something that is you go to the store, you look at every label. It's the same thing for the most part, the same kind of template. They vary it, but it's the same template. Michael, our CEO, is very proud of the awards. We spend a lot of money entering these awards. These are not cheap competitions to enter by any means. They're not free. You have to pay to get them, to get into just being in the actual competition. So he wants to put it out there. I can see us down the road. Right now, we're at 27 awards. We cannot display 27 awards on a label. There will be no room for even the word Legends if we put every award that we've won. I see us down the road very shortly eliminating the awards. It's put us on the map. People know our name now. We don't need to put it out there. We are multi-award winning. People already know we are multi-award winning. So eventually everything will go back to Legends, our crest, the bottle.
Oh, see, that one has the Legends thing, all that SIP above it. So
no, this one when we first released, we actually put the SIP awards right on the top, and we kept this original logo. When we had to redesign the label for the bottle, so every time we do a bottle of the 100, we have to put the barrel numbers and the bottle number, so we get it printed rather than handwriting them. Because the printing process that we have, we can actually do that, and it's way more effective, way more cost effective. So when we reprinted the labels for the next barrels that Tyler picked, Michael then said, I want the SIP awards put where the crest is.
Because we do hand label everything.
Yeah, we hand label it. And when the CEO says he wants the crest on there, you put the crest on there.
Well, hey, I get it. I do get it. But hey, who am I? I'm just a podcast guy that likes to drink whiskey. And I said, what's important to me is what's in the whiskey. But I would tell you, I was standing in a whiskey store one day, and the owners knew who I was, and they're not big. I wouldn't say they're giant bourbon people, but they're like, that guy standing in the aisle right there. He's got a bourbon podcast. He really knows his bourbon, and telling his other customer. So ask him, and he said, Mike, would you mind talking to her? And I said, I don't mind. And she was like, what are all those little stickers all over the bottle? I was like, well, that's awards they get. And she was like, is it really that good? And I was like, I can't tell you that. I was like, but if they won all those awards, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I said, it depends on who the judges are there.
Absolutely.
I would tell you this, even if your weeder had award stickers all over it, I would tell people out there that it's damn good. And I would tell them face to face, and I'm not trying to pull your chain, that this Legends Bourbon 100 is pretty damn nice. I like it. It tastes good. It's a nice sipper at 100 proof. It drinks to me like a 100 proof, or actually maybe a little bit lower than that, like 96 or something. A really nice sipper, a traditional bourbon. What'd you say the price was on this?
On average, this is anywhere between 58 to 61. It depends on where you go. Obviously, right now we're only sold in Georgia, but we just launched spirithub.com, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's an online website where you can get home delivery. It's in Illinois, Nebraska, New Hampshire, and I think Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, we're launching that now, so we'll be available, especially in Illinois, the Chicago area. We're starting to get Iowa is now coming to the table ever since we won with the 115. So I see us branching out very soon. But if you want the 100 right now, pretty much the only place you can get it is in Georgia, and it's anywhere between 58 to 61 bucks.
Now, Tyler, I saw you smiling the whole time after I asked that question. Do you have any thoughts on that at all, about the awards being on label, or do you not care about the label itself? You really care about just the whiskey inside the bottle?
Yeah, I mean, my lane is making sure good stuff gets in the bottle. That's really what I care about at the end of the day. But and again, neck talkers is a good option, but we haven't had necessarily the money for neck talkers yet. So we're trying to streamline our process, and every label that we redo is another money that we spent, and it does take a long time to label those. What's our average? About 2 pallets a day, probably, maybe 3 pallets.
If we hustle.
3 if we hustle. Yeah.
And you're a new company, and you're still, nothing against you guys, but you're still learning the industry. Even though you were in the industry, you're still really learning the industry when it comes down to it, right?
100%.
I don't think William LaRue Weller had it figured out his first day.
No,
the Beams didn't have it figured out their first day. Nobody did. So 2 years into it. 2 years,
yeah, pretty much.
To get the accolades and the awards that you're getting, and to being asked to be on a podcast at 2 years and saying, hey, we want to have you guys on. Well, we're excited about your whiskey. We're excited about you guys. That's high praise right there. Fred Minnick, I was joking about before saying, hey, we said it first, but dang, is that some high praise from Fred saying, hey, this is the best wheated, and beating out the granddaddy of wheated whiskey. Some listeners, if you didn't know that, William LaRue Weller is the granddaddy of wheated bourbon, not Pappy. Pappy actually worked for William LaRue Weller. So if you didn't know that out there, a little history fact for you. So
we lost by 1 vote, literally 1 vote to Stag Jr.
To Stag Jr., which is, there's nothing wrong with that either. Hey, you guys, that's high praise. I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, when we're sitting there, that taste off, it's us and Buffalo Trace.
That's it. With 2 against 1, Buffalo
for us,
Trace.
that's a strange place to be.
I'm sure that is. I know other places like that feel like they're going up against the entire state of Kentucky, and they're from out of state of Kentucky, and you did everything right. You're doing everything right, and the hard work. You said there's only 5 of you in the distillery itself, working from taking the unicorn out to go to the bathroom to sweeping up. You got to do a little bit of everything. And it does take that, right? It takes the hard work, takes that dedication. It takes even going on podcasts like this at 6:30 on a Tuesday night, actually almost 7:30 now. Putting that marketing into it. I could see that you guys are tired, but I would just say, just keep putting that hard effort into it, and good things are going to follow. Better, even bigger things are going to come to follow and stuff. And we'll be glad to have you on any time on the podcast, and hopefully we can get down there and actually meet you guys. Or if you come up to Kentucky,
absolutely,
you come out here to the Jephthah Bend Farm, and we'll feed you a little barbecue.
I won't say no to that.
That's right.
Drink a little bit of whiskey. We have a tad bit of whiskey up here. Heck, we might even have some of your whiskey up here. And the Wheated King of Kentucky will always be glad to take a bottle of your wheated bourbon. So what's next for Legends? What's next?
Oh, well, I mean, we're getting our tasting room operational. That's been a big hurdle for us. Start having people. It's a lot easier to sell us as a new brand if folks can taste it. Because at the end of the day, you can do all the talking you want, but you gotta let your product speak for itself. So getting that going, and we'll hopefully have it fully open. It's been one piece at a time. It's been a challenge turning a warehouse into a tasting room. It's been a fun challenge. I never thought I'd be demoing as many walls as I have as a distillery guy, but it's been good. But we're going to keep working on our special releases. Like say the wheat was a limited release. We put 10 barrels out of that blend.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep trying to follow up. We've hit a home run with this one. Now the world, everyone's going to be watching. Can we do it again? So we're going to keep practicing our craft and getting better at it, and keep eating humble pie as we make mistakes.
Yep.
Well, hopefully that FedEx guy or that UPS guy will show up or knock on my door and be like, "Hey, Legends sent you the Wheated King of Kentucky bottle of their new wheated bourbon to taste." Yep. They're hoping for great things.
Yeah, we're working a little something.
Yeah, we
little something
in the works. We'll send you a little something in the post.
We're always grateful for whiskey companies to send us whiskey. We love to support the craft distilleries out there, the small guy that is competing with a big guy. It's that David versus Goliath kind of thing. Not that we don't love some Buffalo Trace, as you can see behind me.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. Loving the big guys, loving the chase sometimes of getting a good bourbon. As you can see, I had a great bourbon show up in my house the other day, and I've been looking for it for quite a while now, and I got a phone call, and I got it MSRP, and I'm so happy to get it. That little bottle right here, I'm sure both of you would probably like to have that bottle.
I saw you post that. Yeah, me and Chris did a little dance with William LaRue Weller last week.
Yep, sure did.
Yeah.
So where can we find you guys on social media?
So our social media handle is legends_spirits. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are launching a YouTube channel as soon as the distilleries open, and we're going to start our own YouTube live, which is going to be called Between the Barrels. It's going to be Tyler and I actually interviewing local musicians, local celebrities, local radio media talent. My background, I've got a huge Rolodex of people that I know in and around Atlanta, and they're all basically supporting Legends right now. And I want to bring them on at the distillery, put them on the stage, and let them tell their story about how they got where they are in the whatever industry they're in. So we're pretty heavy right now on social media, especially pushing the 115 currently, mainly because we get about 20 to 50 phone calls a day asking where can people buy the 115. So we make sure that we tell people, go to our website. It's spiritsusa.com. And I have it on the website where I actually have a list of every package store that carries the 115 currently. And as they sell out, I will be removing them from the list. There isn't much out there right now. It's become a little bit of a allocated, totally we didn't see this come in. It was unplanned, but everybody's seeking this 115 right now. So the package stores are selling out quick. And then from there, we're trying to then grow our subscriber list to bring in what we're calling ambassadors. These are people that want to come in and do private tastings. We're going to do special releases for our ambassadors where Tyler comes up with some really beautiful signature release for him. And only the ambassadors are going to get a chance to actually sample it before anybody. So we're pushing people to the website heavily again at spiritsusa.com. But follow us on social media. We have a lot of fun. Tyler and I are goofballs. We put out a lot of stupid videos. We don't mind that. I mean, it's part of the fun. Me and him, we're cut from the same cloth. He grew up in Troy, Alabama. I grew up in England, thousands of miles away, but we're basically the same person. Honestly, it's ridiculous. I mean, we have so much fun, and he's shaking his head right now. Yeah, literally shaking his head like, oh, okay. But no, I mean, we have a lot of fun at Legends. We welcome everybody to the distillery. I mean, literally anybody. We're an open door. We're literally transparent, as you mentioned earlier. We don't mind telling people about what we do, how we do it. The only thing we can't tell you is exactly how the quantum purity works. It's patented, it's protected. We have a lot of investors that will lose their minds if we told you exactly how it works. But come on by the distillery anytime, and Mike and Jim, we would love you guys to come down here. And if we're ever in Kentucky, we'll be calling you for sure.
Well, listeners, Jim will be back on 2 weeks. There's a little bit of technical difficulty at his house, so just hang with us. Maybe if you guys get your YouTube channel started, maybe I can get my twin. He's a wrestler. I'll get him on there. He is the big bad booty daddy of bourbon. Maybe I'll bring him out. We'll see if he'll play.
There you go.
No, you guys got my love. You got my praise for all three of your bourbons. I think you guys are doing great things. If you're listening, make sure you go to Spirits USA, to Legends Bourbon. Check them out. When's your tasting room going to be open?
We're looking at less than a couple of months. We just built the bar. We already built the patio, the deck, everything that we need for that. We're currently open for what we call patio pours. So people can come in, enjoy all of our bourbon, all of our vodka, cocktails, and then we got around 100-seater patio and deck. The tasting room itself will be fully open in, say, in about 2 months.
All right. Well, guys, we will see you guys on down the Bourbon Road. Like I said, I appreciate you sending us bourbon. I can't thank you enough for coming on and hanging with me. I wish Jim could have been here with you and tasted your bourbon. He's tasted it, I guarantee you. We fought over who was going to get to 115. I left it over his house, and I said, hey, I'm going to be over here anyways, and I'll get to taste plenty of it, and it's almost all gone. But your guys' good friend, the Bourbon Whisperer, said he was going to hook me up with a bottle of his barrel. So I'm pretty
Yeah, he had a store pick that is absolutely delicious.
I'm pretty excited about that he thinks I'm the Wheated King of Kentucky. Is special enough to get a bottle of that. So I'm pretty excited about that, to be able to taste that.
I will tell you that one's good. We had a lot of fun picking that one. It was a hard day at the office. 5 hours of sampling wheat whiskey. So
yeah, that's a tough day, right?
Absolutely. He actually brought a bag full of comparables, and we sat there. I won't say who he was comparing us against, but there was about 6 or 7. And
well-known wheat eaters out there, and we were stacking up pretty well against them.
We stacked up really well against them, and Rod was very happy at the end of it. Let's put it that way. Nice.
Well, listeners, you know where you can find us. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can find us almost anywhere at the Bourbon Road. You can also find us on our private Facebook group, the Bourbon Roadies. You know us well. You got to answer 3 things to get in there. Are you 21? Do you like bourbon? Hell yes. Everybody likes bourbon. What's wrong with you? Just like it. And do you agree to play nice? like we say, we don't tolerate any rudeness. I have to bring the old big bad booty daddy of bourbon out, and we'll take care of that. So make sure you join that group. We give 10% off all of our gear if you're a bourbon roadie for 2021. So you want to be a roadie. Check that group out. There's about 2,100 people in there right now of like-minded folks like Chris, like Tyler, industry folks in there, just regular old bourbon drinkers. What we want to do, if you're drinking from the bottom of the shelf, we want you to post those photos and not feel any pain from anybody else and beating you up. So feel like that's the group you want to be in. Come in and join us. If not, hey, that's fine. We also ask that you would subscribe to our podcast, whatever you're listening on. Would hit that subscribe button so you can be told next week, hey, these two jokers right here, these two bourbon bullshitters, they're on the air again with great guests doing a great review. So hit that subscribe button. We'd also ask that you do that 5-star review because, yes, we're that good. Yes, we are. I know I'm a big, beautiful guy. That's why I'm on a podcast and not TV. But give us that 5-star review. We really appreciate those. It allows us to open the doors and have great guests on like Legends Bourbons. We just love it. So do that for us. We got 2 shows a week. We got our Craft Distillery Mondays where we bring on small craft distilleries. We review their whiskey. We tell you whether we like it or not. And then we do a long guest episode, about an hour long. Keeps you that 30-minute drive to work, 30-minute drive back. You can listen to the bourbon bullshitters. We're not experts. We're just talking about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about bourbon. Talk about bourbon. Talk about bourbon on an episode. So listen to those interviews. Great listening. Also visit our website, thebourbonroad.com. You can go on there, find our gear, our Bourbon Bullshitter t-shirt, because everybody needs to have one of those, right? Everybody. We hope to see all of America wearing those in the distilleries across America. You can find our glasses. You can find our hat on there. Fixing to find our other shirt on there, the Bourbon Road shirt. You can find articles, our reviews that I write. You can find Jim at jshannon63. You can find me at One Big Chief. We hope that you reach out to us. We'll see you on down the Bourbon Road.